Okay, from Ben. How many practice rounds will you play on each course? While at Quilla Hollow, I'll probably play the Pro-Am, and at the Players, I'll play Tuesday and Wednesday, and be ready for each one on Thursday. All right, from Matt. What have you been working on since the Masters? It's a great question. At the Masters, I was kind of struggling with my ball striking a little bit, and Sean and I fixed it. It had to do with my posture. My setup wasn't quite right, as well as my takeaway. So we worked on that, and we just needed to do hundreds of reps, and it's getting dialed in. From Sam, what ratio of long game to short game practice do you do before a tournament? Generally, I'm about 50-50. Hit balls and short game early in the week. By the time I get towards tournament time, I'm playing a lot of golf, and that could be 36, 54 holes in a day. I'm just playing. I've done all my work, and now I just need to get in my playing mode and get ready to start my feels and hitting shots on a golf course. So I've already done all the work I need to do, and now get ready for a tournament. Okay, from Harry, which was your most memorable players and why? Let's see. Most memorable players. Probably the one I won in 01. That was a fun year. Had a nice putt on 17 I made on Saturday. Also 2000, even though I lost, that was a fun duel between Hal and myself. We were battling. Obviously went into Monday, but I was three back that with I think 3 holes to go. I made eagle on 16 and made Hal have to work for it on the last couple of holes. Even though I lost, but it was a lot of fun. We both have talked about that many times afterwards and how much fun that was. But 01 is definitely better because I won. All right, from Brennan, favorite shot at Sawgrass. Well, my favorite shot I think has got to be that putt at 17 back in 01. The putt there at 17 on Saturday afternoon. It was a double breaking putt quite a bit, and what made that putt interesting is that the group in front of us was Fred Funk, and I saw Fred Funk 4-putt that hole, and I knew how quick it was because I just watched him do the same thing, and I was just trying to make sure I just kept my putt on the green, so at least I could give myself a chance at 2-putting and not losing any shots on the hole. And for some reason, it was a better than most putt, and it went in. All right, Randall, what do you think is the coolest looking trophy of the 4 majors? For me, it's the British Open. I just think the claret jug and the history and what it represents, just that every single great champion has played in the British Open. It just, not everyone has played in the Masters because it didn't come around until the 30s, but everyone's played in the Open Championship, and to go, if you're lucky enough to have won the Open Championship at St Andrews, it's as good as it gets. Come up the last hole at the home of golf. It's the biggest fairway in all of golf, but just to have that atmosphere and the R&A building right behind there, the old town right there to your right. I mean, it is one of the coolest sights and coolest feelings there is in all of golf. And the guys who have won it there, I think will probably say the same thing. From Nolan, what is in those little bottles you chug on the course? What are their electrolytes? I get them from Fuse, and I drink them all throughout the day just to try and keep my electrolytes up because I do sweat a lot and it is hot out there usually. I don't drink it as much when it's cold. Obviously don't need it, but when it's hot, I'm drinking it all the time. From Jamie, I love watching the videos from the oven. Do you enjoy testing all the new clubs? Any news on future products? As of right now, I'm still working on the ball. I'm playing all Nike clubs. All 14 are Nike clubs. I do testing quite a bit throughout the year. I only do testing when I'm hitting the ball well. And that's one of the things that I don't think that it's a good time to test when you're not hitting the ball well because it's hard to get any kind of judge of what's going on. So from shafts to club heads to anything new that comes out, I've always made sure that I'm dialed in before each testing. Then we have a benchmark of where I'm at. So if a new shaft comes out, we want to try a new shaft. All my numbers are good, then we try the shaft, and if the numbers are not very good with that shaft, then the shaft's out. Same thing with club heads, fairway woods, you name it, through the whole gamut. Just making sure that my game's dialed in before each testing. From Phaedra, have you ever had an albatross? Actually, I've had two. The first one I had was actually back at the Walker Cup, I think back in '95 in Wales. We were playing the 17th hole. It was myself and Noda from Stanford against Trip Keeney and Chris Cox from Oklahoma State. We just had lost to them in the NCAA, so we wanted to have a little revenge, a little friendly match before the practice round match. So we went out there and I hit a driver and a 9-iron and knocked it in. And the other one was at Isleworth. It was pretty interesting because I had played with Marco Mira the week before, and he made an albatross. He made a double eagle on number 7, the par 5, and then 2 days later I knocked it in. So we've had within 3 days we've had two twos on par 5s, which was something you don't see very often. From Hap, where does the better than most putt you made in 2001 rank in all the putts you've made? Certainly up there. It was certainly one of the more difficult putts I've ever made. A lot of luck involved because of how much break there was going both ways and the speed of it. But overall, it was one of those moments where everything worked out and it happened to go in. I wasn't trying to make it, to be honest with you. I was just trying to get it close and not 3-putt because the group in front of me, Fred Funk just 4-putted from there. So I was just kind of hoping not to lose a shot on the hole, and it just so happened to go in. But hey, I'll take those accidents. From Aaron, I will always remember the putt on 17 at TPC. What is your most memorable putt on tour? Oh, that's an easy one. It was about the 3.5 footer I made to win my first Masters. That was the coolest putt in the world to me. It was outside left, had hit the ball just on top of the hole, maybe a quarter to half a ball outside the left and died in. And to set the record and for all the history that it meant at the time, and then to have my dad there in the back of the green, that is by far the biggest putt I've ever made on tour. From Joel, you won the Wells Fargo in 2007. How different would winning it this year be opposed to back then? It feels just as good. Winning is winning. It's been a few years since I've won, and I'd like to get back in that winning circle there. I love the golf course. I love what John Harris has done for the event, what he's doing for trying to get, he's going to get a PGA there and maybe a Ryder Cup down the road. He means so much to that area, and what he's done for golf in general is just phenomenal. So that's one of the reasons why all the players go there to support the event. It's a great golf course, but also what John does for the game of golf. From Adam, do you still rotate it from a 2-iron to a 5-wood depending on the course setup, or are you consistently putting the 5-wood in the bag? Well, that is a great question because I do rotate back and forth between the 2-iron and the 5-wood. At Augusta, I use the 5-wood. Most of the West Coast events, I use the 5-wood. The Florida swing, I use my 2-iron. It is dependent on the golf course and the conditions. In Australia last year, I used nothing but the 2-iron. So if it's hard and fast and it's dry, then I'll use the 2-iron because I can chase it out there. And if some of the par 5s are accessible that week, and there's where there's 3 or 4 of them depending on the golf course, and I have to get the ball up into those par 5s, then I'll probably put the 5-wood back in. But some golf courses just lend itself to the dry conditions, and if that is, then the 2-iron's in the bag and I'll just chase it out there. But Augusta is one of the golf courses where you need to get the ball up in the air, and I went with the 5-wood and actually put a little more loft on it to send it up even further up in the air for holes like 15 or 13 if I'm coming off the side of the hill, if I don't turn my 3-wood around the corner. From Jared, how often do you tack the pin at 17 at Sawgrass, or do you usually play it safe? That is a great question because it's all dependent on the pin. If the pin's on the front, then I'm firing not at the flag, but I'm firing just behind it. I'm firing into the ridge and letting the ridge feed it back. If the pin's on top, then I'm firing just on whatever the top number is, and then letting it skip back there. If it skips back there, if it checks, but make sure I just carry that top number. And the pins on the right, I'm just firing onto the ridge line and letting the ball just drift over on the slope. So I guess to answer your question, I really don't fire a lot of pins there. I fire to sections, I fire to my number. I just focus on that, and it's usually how I play most golf courses in general, actually. From S. Charles Brown, how much of your deciding to change your swing is driven by protecting the health of your knee? It is. I've trashed it pretty good over the years, and we're working on things to alleviate the amount of stress we possibly can over the knee, so I can play for however long I want to play for. And it's one of the reasons why I've changed my swing over the years, to try and alleviate that stress. I've had 4 surgeries on the knee, so let's just end it at 4 and have a nice, happy, healthy life. And I have 2 little ones I need to chase around, so I need to be healthy. All right, we've got a lot of different questions, and here are a sample of a few. What is the difference between Bay Hill and the Masters? Well, why I won at Bay Hill and didn't win at the Masters? Well, I hit the ball well at Bay Hill. I hit the ball great. I drove it great. I was really consistent with my irons. My speed on the greens was pretty good. At Augusta, I just wasn't quite there. My posture was a little bit off, and my takeaway was hence off because my posture was off. So fixed those 2 things here in the last couple weeks, and really looking forward to playing the next couple weeks. A few other questions here. Are you anxious about returning to competition again? Yeah, absolutely. I took a full week off. I didn't touch a club for a week, and then the last couple weeks I've got back into it gradually and started ramping up my practice schedule and my practice time, and feel very excited about playing. I know the things that Sean and I have been working on, I just need to implement and get more comfortable with it, and that just comes with reps, and that's come along. I hit the ball great yesterday when I was out practicing, so we'll go out today and improve on it. And a few other questions here. The consensus says, do you have a good chance of winning? I feel I do, yes. I feel if I can do the things that we've been working on and get my posture and my takeaway dialed in, then yes, I feel like I have a good chance. And I'm going to a golf course I like in Charlotte. I've won there before, and the very next week is a tournament that I've also won at. So looking forward to those 2 events. They're 2 ball striking events. You got to hit the ball really well there at those 2 tournaments to give yourself a chance, and make a few putts at the same time. So I'm really looking forward to that. What are my thoughts about the next major, U.S. Open Olympic? Well, I haven't played in a while, so I'm anxious to get up there and play before the U.S. Open and take a look at it. I know that they're also now putting a new bunker there at 17, so that's a little close to tournament time that they're adding something. But playing 17 and 16 as par 5s is something I've never done. I've only played 16 as a par 5, and 17 has always been a long par 4. So it'll be different to play 17 as a par 5 this time around. I played there in '98. It was a par 4. I think the last Open there when I think Scott Simpson won, it was '84, somewhere around there. Again, it was a par 4. Guys were having a hard time holding the ball in the fairway. So it'll be interesting to see it as a par 5. I've never played as a par 5. Even all my years at Stanford, we always played as a par 4 from, I think it was like the 470 mark or whatever it is, or 450 mark, and played up the hill that way.